Jim Longworth, and welcome to another edition of Triad Today, coming to you once again from our home away from home here at the beautiful Senior Botanical Garden. I hope you'll check them out and their website. It's a beautiful place, seniorbotanicalgarden.org. Now, we are here in a holiday special to honor nonprofit agencies and organizations throughout this half hour, and we have some great guests, so I hope you'll stay tuned the whole time. But I can think of no better place to start this special salute to nonprofits than to talk about a food bank and the man who runs it, and he's here with us right now. On my immediate right, Eric Hafta, CEO of the Second Harvest Food Bank of Northwest North Carolina. Welcome back to the show, Eric.
Jim, good to be here.
Recap for us now before we get started, for folks maybe just moved into the area, whatever. What area do you serve? How much food do you move in a typical year? We'll get to the non-typical year in a minute. Number of people you typically serve. So give us some base numbers.
Well, we serve the 18 counties of Northwest North Carolina, Boone to Burlington, down to Statesville, up to the Virginia line. And we support a network of over 290 partner agencies that are providing food assistance to our neighbors in need every single day.
Now, the key word on that first question I was trying to fumble through is because I wanted to be careful and say a typical year, because we know that 2020 was not typical because of the COVID pandemic. We've seen on the news the just astoundingly long lines in Texas and other places of people, and you think, well, what are they lining up for? They're lining up for food bank assistance. What are we seeing in this area, given what's going on with the spiking and the pandemic? What are we seeing here?
Well, the challenge is really tremendous. As you mentioned, a typical year, we're distributing out of our food bank every single day about 38 tons of food. And in the last quarter, the average daily distribution was actually 58 tons.
Oh, my Lord.
And to give you an idea, one of our great agencies down in High Point, 5 loaves, 2 fishes, if we went back to this time last year, they were serving about 250 folks a month, and right now they're serving about 650 individuals.
Oh my gosh. It's staggering. I mean, as things continue, as these numbers of cases and deaths and hospitalizations spike, how are you preparing any differently to get ready for this, to handle this onslaught?
Well, that's the challenge, is really planning food out. We're very fortunate. We've got a very generous community, great grocery partners and others who have stepped up to assist. But we really have to think through, what do we need today, and what is the next 3 to 5 months really look like, so that we can have enough food on hand to get it out to those in need as the economy changes and as individuals' situations change and as people are facing additional bills of heat and other things that happen in the cold months.
Yeah, when you're not doing a food drive per se, typically people go to the grocery store and they say, oh, I've got an extra can of peas or some vegetables. I'm going to donate. I'm going to put this in this box over here for the... But again, these are not typical times, so we kind of need to step up, don't we?
That's right, and we were fortunate the community has really done that, but it's really needed consistently. So anybody who can think of, wants to get out there and assist, whether it's volunteering or being part of those food drives. And we run a constant virtual food drive, so people from home can actually participate and say.
Now, how does that work?
Well, basically they go onto our website and they can actually look at the key items that we want to get out to people that are healthier, low sodium vegetables, peanut butter, pasta, that type of thing. And they can actually buy cases of those that then we turn around and get into the food bank.
I got you. That's great. Now, I'll put that information up on screen in just a second. But before we run out of time, very quickly, I heard that your headquarters are sort of running out of space, and the rumor was that you were looking for a new building. What's going on with that?
Well, if we go back to 2009, we were distributing 9 million pounds, and this past year is 43 million. We have run out of space. We ran out of space a while ago, but we're excited that we are going to find a new home in Whitaker Park, really in the heart of Winston-Salem, close by Highway 52, the Wake Forest Tennis Center, Truist Field. It'll be a great location.
And after the first of the year, I want to get you back, because I also know that you're going to step up this efforts with the capital campaign. We want to talk about that. But the donations of food, the donations of time, volunteering, anything is important right now. Up on screen, Second Harvest, NWNC.org. Please check that out. That gives you a good way to donate through that website. Eric Aft, happy holidays to you.
Happy holidays, Jim. Thanks so much.
We'll be right back after this. Back now on Triad Today, and I'm looking forward to spending a few minutes with these two very special ladies who do so much for the community, and I want to introduce them to you right now. First-time visitors to the show, up from Charlotte area, now recently moved into the Winston-Salem area. Dr. Stephanie Cooper-Luter is Executive Vice President of Programs and Administration for the Kate B. Reynolds Charitable Trust, and joining her, my old pal, and I don't mean you're old, I just meant you're, but a friend who's been on the show many, many years ago, Chanel McClurkin-Thompson. She's Senior Program Officer for Local Impact in Forsyth County for the Kate B. Reynolds Charitable Trust. Welcome to the program, girls. Thanks for being here. Anybody can answer it. There's no set thing. We don't have any rules here. But somebody start out and sort of give me a little statement on what the mission of the Kate B. Reynolds Charitable Trust is.
Well, I'll start.
All right.
The mission of our trust is to improve the health and quality of life of financially disadvantaged residents in Forsyth County and across North Carolina.
Chanel, how has the community at large been impacted by the pandemic, do you think? And I know we've had, unfortunately, some people have died and people have contracted it. From a big picture perspective in trying to help the community, how has it impacted?
So I think we've seen several things happening here locally in Forsyth County. What we know is COVID has really shed a light on some things that had already been happening. So individuals who were already experiencing food insecurities, they are more at risk. Individuals who were being burdened by rent costs, they are more likely to be experiencing some additional stress because they may have reduced hours, their businesses may be closing down and things like that. So we're seeing a lot of things just kind of be heightened during the COVID experience.
Well, what kind of things have you all been doing from the Charitable Trust side to try to lessen the impact?
Well, to date, we've invested $3.6 million across the state to address the COVID impacts. And as Chanel said, we know that it disproportionately hits not only communities of color, but also rural communities. And we know that there are residents who are struggling with even access to health care and health insurance. African Americans are twice as likely to not have insurance, and Latinos are 3 times as likely. So there are specific populations that we have been intentional in our funding investments.
I'm curious, have you found that other nonprofits and foundations are experiencing the same problems and challenges that you guys are?
Yes, absolutely. And I think one of the things that we've been able to see is that here locally in our community, foundations and trusts and individual donors have come together to really make sure that we beef up our community funds so that we've been able to put money in the hands of individuals who are doing work on the ground, and they are able to support the individuals in our community that need the work.
Yes, springboarding off of what Chanel said, Stephanie, just before time runs in, I'm just curious. I know you'll accept people giving money to the foundation, but is that the way people can help through this situation, is making donations and setting up their own trust, or what?
So our trust actually has dollars already invested, but we do encourage people to give to their local efforts for COVID fundraising. So Forsyth has a local COVID-19 response fund through United Way.
United Way and the Winston-Salem Foundation.
I just think it's great what you're doing. And up on screen is kbr.org. It stands for Kate B. Reynolds Charitable Trust, kbr.org. Please visit that website and you can see all the great things that are being done by these ladies and their great team. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
We'll be right back. On Triad Today, always glad when our good friends from Mountain Valley Hospice can drop by and update us on what's going on and the service that they're offering to so many people, doing such a great job in the area. And my friend on the right who's been here with us before, Melissa Hyatt, is Senior Director of Development for Mountain Valley Hospice and Palliative Care. Melissa brought a special guest with her today. She is socially distant behind us. Audrey Diener is Donor Relations Specialist for Mountain Valley Hospice. Welcome, girls. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Melissa, I'm going to start with you, just as sort of a basic thing. Give me about 10 seconds on what hospice is and who do you serve, for people maybe haven't just moved into the area or haven't learned about it yet.
Mountain Valley Hospice serves 18 counties in North Carolina and Virginia. Our hospice service is provided to patients who have been deemed a serious illness or a terminal illness that have less than 6 months of life. And we also serve palliative patients, which is a serious illness specialty for those who desire a specific specialized type of medicine.
Now, what does it mean? I mean, we've mentioned on the program before that Mountain Valley Hospice is a nonprofit. And sometimes people slough over that thing and maybe don't realize how much of a benefit that means to patients and their families, right?
Yes, being a nonprofit is an IRS tax exemption, so those dollars that would normally be paid to taxes, we get to in turn put back into programs and to be able to provide more services to our patients, but as well as provide services to those who may not receive services.
Right, and there are, I'm not going to mention any names, but there are hospice organizations that do a fine job, but they're for profit. And what happens is, in that case, you have to come up with the money, and in your case, you don't turn people away, and I think that's important. Audrey, let me go to you. How's Mountain Valley Hospice and hospice services funded in general?
So Jim, much of our patient care is funded through private insurance and Medicaid billing. That being said, we don't turn any patients away because of their inability to pay. So any patients that don't have those resources, we find ways to work with them and care for them.
Audrey, tell us about the holiday ornament, because I know it started as sort of a tradition at Mountain Valley, yeah, but it's also an important tradition because it's sort of a fundraiser on its own. So tell us about that.
Absolutely. So our memorial ornament is a fundraiser that Mountain Valley has done during the holiday season for over 12 years now. The memorial ornament is a great way for families to memorialize a loved one, to hang a decoration or give a gift to memorialize someone that they have had in care.
And you and Melissa put on lots of great fundraisers throughout the year, and we can always mention those when you come back later, but what if somebody just wants to make a donation? I'm going to give the website in a little bit. But is it a good idea or bad idea to make a donation toward the end of the year like this? What's your feeling?
So Mountain Valley actually is in the middle of our end of year holiday campaign right now. It's called Making a Miracle. It provides care for patients in hospice. It helps support days of care for them. And giving at the end of the year is actually a great idea. One of the big motivators for giving at the end of the year is that donations are tax deductible. Okay.
Melissa, what are some of the items that you need? Because people say, well, now what can I donate to hospice? Are there items that you need? What?
That is a great question. This time of the year, we have lots of families that will be spending the holidays in our inpatient units. So small items such as even snacks, water, socks, tissues, things like that really benefit the families this time of year. But if a donor chooses to give a larger gift, they can do that by reaching out to myself or Audrey through the website or by our phone, or and we can just sit down and have a conversation with them about what they'd like to do.
Right, we're going to put that up on screen in just 1 second. But do you also need, I know you need volunteers, you love volunteers, and they're sort of a backbone of operation. Do you still need more volunteers?
We always need volunteers. Our volunteers serve our patient families. They work in an administrative capacity and also help out in our inpatient units and other departments. So it's a great way to give back, to give of your time. And when they come to us wanting to do so, we have a specialized training for each one of them for the work that they choose to do with us.
Get them qualified and ready to go.
Yes.
And I just think that's great. Up on screen, mtnvalleyhospice.org, or you can call, as Melissa was talking about, you can call 888-789-2922, which I hope you will do for many reasons: to buy the ornament, to help fund hospice services, to get involved as a volunteer and find out how you can do that, and mainly just to help hospice help others. Thank you, ladies, for being here.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be back. On Triad Today, always glad when some of the good folks from the Z. Smith Reynolds Foundation can drop by and let us know what's going on with their grant making and all the great things they do to improve quality of life in this area. And we have with us a very special guest. Sorian Schmidt is Senior Program Officer for Z. Smith Reynolds Foundation. Welcome to the program.
Well, thank you for having me.
Let's just, in case somebody just moved into the area or doesn't know, give me a quick thing on what the mission is, what the foundation is all about.
Sure. Well, Z. Smith Reynolds Foundation has been here for 80 years, and it's a statewide family private foundation, and we've given out about $600 million in that time to programs all over the state. And our mission, as you referred to, is to improve the quality of life for all North Carolinians.
Yeah, and doing such a great job at it too. Now give us a little thumbnail sketch of 2020, the year 2020. What about this past year? I mean, what types of things has the foundation funded? Give me sort of an idea.
Sure. Well, obviously in March, like with everyone, we turned our attention to COVID. And we have long had relationships with organizations that are trying to improve systems that are working on quality of life in the state. And so with COVID, we saw that hunger would be a large issue, and we gave some grants to the food banks all across North Carolina. We have also contributed, because we have special interest in Forsyth County, our home, to the COVID response fund here that the Winston-Salem Foundation has run. But we've been concentrating on things like helping organizations work to make the elections safe during a pandemic, and or contributing to efforts to make workplaces safer from spreading the infection, so workers
Safe
could
meaning
still
make
go in.
sure people were masked and that same thing if they came in.
Right, so for example, with voting, there was the need to have more early voting hours. There was the need to sanitize the locations to a higher level than had been previously been done. There was the need for more protective equipment, and so our funding would help local boards of elections and local organizations do all those things. There was also a lot of new information people needed to know how to vote early or vote by mail.
What's the foundation planning for 2021? What's coming up?
Well, of course, as you look forward, we're still monitoring COVID and it's still having a large impact. So we're trying to, with our grantees, think about how we continue to address worker safety issues and how we continue to reinforce the systems that are trying to adjust. So for example, childcare or schools, obviously students are missing most of a year in person and socialization that would bring about. And so how are we going to respond to that and help get those students back on track? We're anticipating a lot of evictions are coming, and so how will we help these people, and how do we build our systems to prepare for that?
I want to put something up on screen, which I'd like for folks at home to take a look at this, zsr.org. Of course, it stands for Z. Smith Reynolds Foundation, zsr.org. That's all you have to do is type that in when you Google it. And go and visit that website and just see the kind of things that the foundation's doing, the kind of people they help, the kind of ways that they improve quality of life. Sorian, to you and Mo and Shaheen and everybody who worked so hard throughout the year to make a difference in people's lives. I can't tell you how much I appreciate what you do.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate you having us here to tell people about it.
All right, you stay safe now.
Thank you, you too.
Check that out though, zsr.org. We'll be right back. Everyone, I'm Jim Longworth and welcome to another edition of Triad Today, and this will be a bittersweet segment because normally when we interview somebody on the show, he or she is not getting ready to leave, and I hope it's nothing I said that's making him leave. Next to me, our good buddy Art Gibble, CEO, and I'll say retiring CEO of Goodwill Industries in Northwest North Carolina. Good to see you, sir.
Same. Good to see you,
We'll
Jim.
get to the retirement thing in a second, but very quickly, let's remind folks what the mission of Goodwill is.
Goodwill generally, if you think about it, everybody knows us for our stores and donating to Goodwill. But essentially, we take those profits and we help people get back into the workforce.
And you help thousands and thousands of people every year, which I think is great. Now, you've made the decision to step down. You've been at the helm for, just over 15 years. Mm-hmm. What have you seen change in those 15 years in terms of community need, in terms of what you're able to deliver? Can you capsulize that for me?
Yeah, briefly. When I started, it was a pretty typical economy. And so things hadn't been changing very much. But then the Great Recession hit, and that changed a lot of things.
2008.
Yeah, it disrupted a lot of people's careers, put them out of work. They didn't have the skills to get back into work. We created a professional center to help a lot of people here in Forsyth County. And that's even getting worse now.
Because of COVID.
Because of COVID, and the COVID pandemic has really forced companies to change the way they do business. So a lot of work from home, work from anywhere, a lot more robotics, putting people out of work permanently.
And that means a lot of people having to develop new skills, and that brings us back to your first point, which is you take the profits, and we can't emphasize this enough, that you donate items, and those items go to the Goodwill stores, and the proceeds from those sales go into these workforce development programs that you were talking about, making a difference in people's lives because they can get retrained, they can get in a position to get back at work, and that's just something. Now, there's so many things that you've achieved, but I know you don't like to brag on yourself, but think of, is there one particular achievement in the 15 years that maybe you're most proud of?
There isn't one, but if I think about it, when I first got in the first early stages 15 years ago, it was probably the rapid expansion of Project Reentry across our territory.
For ex-offenders?
For ex-offenders, helping ex-offenders re-enter society, get a job, connect them to the resources that they need. And then probably in the middle stage, it would have been the affiliation with Crosby Scholars, and taking that organization and creating two new organizations in Rowan and Iredell counties.
What about fond memories? You have one that sticks out in your mind more than others?
I tell you, I get a fond memory every time we open a new store or a new workforce development center. In fact, we're opening our 50th store this Friday on Reynolda Road in Winston.
Wow.
So,
That's just something, that's great. And that's going to allow you to, I mean, that's more proceeds and that's more help for more people. It comes full circle. What can you tell us about your successor as you step down?
yeah, Barbara Maida-Stoley has been at the Charlotte Goodwill for about 14 years, most recently as Chief Operations Officer. And she's going to do a great job. She's lived in Winston-Salem. She was with Sarah Lee for a long time.
So she knows this area.
She knows the area well. She's an entrepreneur. She and her husband at the time founded a company, ran it for 10 years, and then Barbara went to Charlotte to be with Goodwill. So she knows entrepreneurship, she knows Goodwill, she knows the community. She'll be a great fit.
And I guess in just a few seconds left, what are you going to do? You're going to stay engaged or what?
Yeah, very much so. I've got to figure it out. I've been so busy lately, but I'll definitely stay involved in the community, especially nonprofit, maybe do some work with nonprofit boards or new nonprofit leaders.
Which goes along with our holiday nonprofit special as well. And I just can't tell you, I can't thank you enough for all you've done for the community over the years, Art. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Jim, and thank you for what you do for the community. This is a great resource to get mission moments out.
Well, I appreciate that. Up on screen, Goodwill, nwnc.org. Please check that out. And if you can't get through on the website, I'll give you Art's home number. And you can, no, I won't do that. Happy holidays.
Thanks, Jim. Same to you.